Hey guys, what's up? My name is Elizabeth and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this video, we are going to talk all about love, and actually we're going to be doing that in the next video. So many of y'all know that Valentine's Day is coming up. At the time I'm doing this video, it's probably about 2 weeks away, and so I kind of just want to talk about what is love, and then in the next video I'm planning to talk about how do we live love out. So first we need to understand what it is, and then secondly we need to know how to do it, and then after that we just have to go and do it. So that's what's going to be discussed in these two videos. So with that being said, let's first talk about what is love. So let's get started. Okay, y'all, so the most popular chapter when it comes to what is love is probably 1 Corinthians 13. I mean, that is literally called the love chapter, I believe. Now, one thing that is very interesting about 1 Corinthians 13 is that it's actually not about anybody getting married. Yeah, so 1 Corinthians 13 is a very famous passage to use at weddings, but there's no wedding scene that's happening in this chapter actually, or in the chapter previously or after. Actually, what is happening is in Corinth, which is where the book slash the letter of 1 Corinthians is being written to. They are having a lot of discord. There's a lot of discord within the church, and people didn't know how to even worship without being disruptive. There's been a lot of disruption between the rich and the poor, where the rich is hogging things and the poor are being without. There's a fight against who's better and whose spiritual gift is way better. And so Paul's in the midst of this, because that's the author who is talking. He's pretty much just telling the Corinthian, hey, pretty much knock it off, pretty much. You have forgotten about the most important gift of all, and that is love. Okay, you guys, so let's first just read the passage, the part of the letter that Paul is talking about love. So, 13. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I have nothing. If I give away all I have, and if I deliver up my body to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is patient and is kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. As for prophecy, they will pass away. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when the perfect comes, the partial will pass away. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish ways. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I have been fully known. So now, faith, hope, love, abide, these three, but the greatest of these is love. So when we look at the first 3 verses, Paul actually mentions some of the spiritual gifts here, specifically probably the spiritual gifts that they are arguing the most. Actually, they are the ones that they argue mostly. Prophecy is a very big one. Tongues are a very big one. And he mentions that, and he's pretty much saying, hey guys, listen up. Yeah, those spiritual gifts, they're cool and all, but without love, they're nothing. They're useless. It's vain. And I think that's something very interesting is that anything one does, but if it's without love, it's nothing. it gains the person nothing at all. See, our attitude, our heart must be in the right place when we serve. Now, I'm not saying that when we do serve and our heart isn't in the right place, that God won't use it. God can use anybody. God can use the most rebellious people. Look at Joseph. He used his brothers who have thrown Joseph in a well and just left him to die. And God has turned that to good. So even in the midst of our rebellion, even in the midst of us biting through our teeth while we're serving someone, God can still use that for his good. But when it comes down to us, it's nothing. It's pointless if we don't do it without love. Our heart has to be right before God and man. We need to love God and we need to love man when we're serving others. You can give your body to be burned. You can give everything you own. You can have all these amazing gifts, but without love, they are nothing. And that's what Paul is saying in the first 3 verses. Now, I want to focus a little bit of our attention on verse 4 through 8a. And Paul lists what love is. Love is patient and kind. Does not envy, does not boast, is not arrogant, is not rude, does not insist its own, is not irritable, is not resentful, it does not rejoice at wrongdoing, it rejoices in the truth, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things, it never ends. And so I think let's first look at patient and kind. I think those two, we kind of understand what patience is, when someone's pushing our buttons and we're about to blow, we kind of hold it in. I really like the King James Version where it talks about love is long suffering. I like that idea when it comes to patient, long suffering. We suffer long, but we hold back our tongue. So long suffering. Love is kind. Now, I want to look at when it says don't. Love is not, love is not, love is not, love is not, or does not. I want to look at that specifically, and I want to turn that into, okay, so yes, love is not that. Then what is the opposite of that? So when it comes to does not envy, what's the opposite of envy? Well, in my opinion, I think the opposite of envy is being satisfied. So love is satisfied. Paul talks about being satisfied in all situations in Philippians. Love does not boast, is not arrogant. So what's the opposite of boasting and being arrogant? Being humble. Love is humble. Love is not rude. What's the opposite of being rude? It's polite. What's the opposite of insisting its own way? Well, love looks out for the good of others. It wants others' ways before itself. Love is not irritable. Again, I think of patience, long-suffering. Love is not resentful. It's satisfied. It's okay with where it is. It doesn't resent someone else. Someone else has a new car. You don't resent that person for having that new car. It's not jealous. I think one translation uses the word jealous. It does not rejoice in wrongdoings, but it rejoices in the truth. Now, believes all things. Now, I was kind of thinking, what does that mean? When it says love believes all things, does that mean that love is just so naive that it's just going to trust everything? Well, when you look at the Gospel Coalition and a blog in there, it talks about what does it mean when love believes all things. And it pretty much sums up the whole thing as it gives the benefit of the doubt. Instead of doubting everybody that their intentions are evil, love chooses to believe that that person has a good intention. And honestly, that I know that sounds a little bit hard to say because, everybody's depraved without God. But I think love isn't necessarily out there going, oh, if I'm going to do this, that person's going to go hit me on the head right away. No, love doesn't see that. Love chooses to act as if that person's not going to hit that person on the head. Maybe that person will. But love chooses to love anyways in a way as if it believes that that person is not going to hurt the person back who is loving them. Love hopes all things. It always hopes. Love doesn't stop hoping. We have a hope in Christ. Peter talks about, to be prepared, to be on defense to anyone who asks for the hope that we have within us. Now, our hope in Christ is not a wishful hope. It's a hope of a faith type of hope, where that hope is ensured. We know that Christ is coming back. Love endures all things. Another translation, I believe it's in the NIV, says it always perseveres. Love does not give up. Love keeps pushing on and on. I believe one of the Gaither songs that I have listened to when I was younger goes something like this. Love never gives up. Love never puts down. Love keeps on trying to smile, not frown. Love never says no when the going gets rough. Love never gives up. And lastly, love never ends. And I was thinking about that. Love was there. God is love, right? So that means love is there before the foundation of the world, and love will be there when the earth passes away. So love is there before time and space began, and love will be there when time and space ends. Because love never ends. And one thing interesting when you look at, I believe, the God question, one of the God question videos talk about what does it mean when love never ends. Well, love never ends can also be love never fails. And what does fail mean? Fail means falter, to fall short. So God's love never fails nor falls short. And as I'm saying God's love, let me just make it clear that this list of love is practically impossible for us to do as humans on our own, and we're going to be talking about in the next week's video. But pretty much this whole list of love is God's type of love. We on our own cannot do that love. So then Paul in verse 8 to 12 goes on and talks about that love never ends. Love keeps on going and going and going, but for these other gifts that the Corinthians are arguing about tongues, knowledge, and prophecy, he's saying, look, y'all, those gifts are going to end. They aren't going to keep continuing. They are going to come to an end. But love won't. And that's why love's the greatest gift of all, because love never ends. All your other fancy gifts over there are going to end. And by the way, your fancy gifts are useless without the gift of love. Now, I kind of wanted to know, why is love the greatest gift? Well, in God Question, it talks about how if I have faith that I can move mountains but not have love, I am nothing. See, we have to have love to be able to have faith. I thought that was interesting. We have to have love in order to have faith. And we have to have faith in order to hope. So that's why faith, hope, love. Do you see that? We need love in order to have faith. It's our love for God that we put our faith, that we put our trust in Him. And through that, we have the hope of salvation. Because we have been given that hope, we can therefore love. Do you see that circle? It's kind of like this circle, wonderful circle there. And that's why love is the greatest gift of all. When we really sit there and think about, this is what love is, and we look at our own life, we have this question, are we really loving that person? And oftentimes, I think the answer is no. Oftentimes, a lot of times when we do something, we may think we're loving that person, but ultimately we're still looking for benefit for us. Love's not looking for benefits. Love's not looking for anything back. Love is always about giving over and over again. Love is about sacrifice. So, for this Valentine's Day, think about, are you loving those people around you that God has put in your life? Are you sacrificing daily for them and forgetting about your own interests? Because honestly, loving yourself is way much easier. But sacrificing yourself daily, dying to yourself, dying to your wants, so that you can love others and put other needs before yourself. That is love. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys continue to watch part 2 of this video. So, God bless you, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!